Translation? Translation? Check with the translation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا إنا أعتدنا للكافرين سلاسلا وأغلالا وسعيرا إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نظرة ورسورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا متكئين فيها على الأرائك لا يرون فيها شمسا ولا زمهريرا ودانية عليهم ظلالها وذللت قطوفها تذليلا ويطاف عليهم بآنية من فضة وأكواب كانت قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا ويطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون إذا رأيتهم حسبتهم لؤلؤا منثورا وإذا رأيت ثم رأيت نعيما وملكا كبيرا صدق الله العلي العظيم.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. جابر ابن عبد الله الأنصاري فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة، فقلت عليك السلام. قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا، فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به، فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. ما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل، وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وسمرة فؤادي. قال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل، وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وسمرة فؤادي. قال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. وقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عم رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. صلى على محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وهما بيده اليمنى إلى السماء. قال اللهم إنا هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم، وعدوا لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم، إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس أهل البيت وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبألها وبنوها. قال جبريل: يا ربي أتعزم لي أن أحبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ قال الله: نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مضحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام: يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل وأنا تحت الكساء فقال لي أبي: إن الله تعالى قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. قال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. قال النبي: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا، إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي: إذن والله فزنا وفاض شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا، وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. قال علي: إذن والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. الفاتحة.
Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you know, tonight we celebrate the Wiladat Sayyida Fatima Zahra, Assalamu alaikum. We'll shortly start the program in just a few months.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. ایک بار اور صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد. بر حبیب خدا ختم الانبیاء نعرہ صلوات. اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. My dear brothers and sisters, مومنین و مومنات, السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. ساری تعریف اللہ کے لیے ہے اور درود و سلام محمد و آل محمد کے لیے. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. 20 جمادی الثانی مبارک تاریخ تھی کہ جس دن پیغمبر اسلام کو خالق دو عالم نے وہ دختر عنایت فرمائی جو عصمت اور طہارت کی ملکہ اور عفت اور شرافت کی مجسمہ تھی، جن کی پاکیزگی کے سامنے دنیا کی پاکیزگیاں بے حقیقت ہیں. مسجد-e-Ali کی جانب سے اور تمام دوستوں کی جانب سے آپ سب کو بی بی فاطمہ زہرا سلام اللہ علیہ کی جشن ولادت باسعادت بہت بہت مبارک. پروردگار ہم سب کی توفیقات میں اضافہ فرمائے، اس عبادت کو قبول فرمائے، اور اسی طرح ہم بی بی کا جشن اور مولا کا جشن مناتے رہیں اور مولا کی بارگاہ میں اپنا ہدیہ پیش کرتے رہیں. آج ہمارے ساتھ ماشاءاللہ سے منقبت خواہ ہیں جو بی بی کا کلام آپ کے سامنے پیش کریں گے، اور ساتھ میں ہمارے اپنے مولانا رضوان رضوی صاحب ممبر سے خطاب فرمائیں گے. آپ سب کو اور ہمارے جو ویورز اس وقت جو مسجد-e-Ali کے یوٹیوب چینل پہ اس وقت اس محفل میلاد میں ہمارے ساتھ جو شرکت کر رہے ہیں فرما رہے ہیں، ایک بار اور خوش آمدید. ہم خوش آمدید کہتے ہیں. جشن کی شروعات جناب ڈاکٹر نٹھانی صاحب نے حدیث قصہ کی بہترین تلاوت کے ساتھ کر دی ہے. اب میں گزارش کرتا ہوں برادر علی حسن سے کہ تشریف لائیں اور اپنا کلام پیش کریں. بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
سب لوگ کو عید مبارک.
خیر مبارک.
عرش سے فرش تک نور کا ہے سما، عرش سے فرش تک نور کا ہے سما، آئی عالم میں 11 اماموں کی ماں. عرش سے فرش تک نور کا ہے سما، آئی عالم میں 11 اماموں کی ماں. دور عالم کا سارا اندھیرا ہوا، آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ.
اور محمد وآل محمد صلوات. جزاک اللہ علی. بہت بہت تھینک یو ویری مچ. بہت بہت شکریہ. ایک اور صلوات پڑھی آل محمد وآل محمد. گڈ وے اسٹارٹ. اس سے پہلے کہ ہم محفل کو آگے بڑھائیں اور میں سب سے پہلے ہمارے جو منقبت خان کو میں دعوت دوں اگر اجازت ہو تو 4 مصرے پیش خدمت ہیں. عرض ہے کہ وہ طہارت کا گھر، وہ طہارت کا گھر، وہ شجاعت کا در. وہ طہارت کا گھر، وہ شجاعت کا در، بن کے پاکیزگی کی فضا آ گئی. وہ طہارت کا گھر، وہ شجاعت کا در، بن کے پاکیزگی کی فضا آ گئیں. جن کی عظمت میں محمد مصطفیٰ کھڑے ہوں، جن کی عظمت میں محمد مصطفیٰ کھڑے ہوں، کائنات میں کوثر کی ملکہ فاطمہ آ گئیں. اسی کے ساتھ میں دعوت دوں گا 2 بھائی جو ہم سب جس سے ہم سب واقف ہیں، آدم اور محمد بخاری، کہ وہ آئیں اور بی بی کی شان میں کلام پیش کریں. ایک صلوات پڑھی اعلیٰ محمد و آل محمد.
صلوات. لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا کا پتہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، انبیاء کے ہے مشکل کشا مرتضیٰ، انبیاء کے ہے مشکل کشا مرتضیٰ، مرتضیٰ کی ہے، مرتضیٰ کی ہے مشکل کشا فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا کا پتہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، یہ نہ ہوتی تو کچھ بھی نہ ہوتا کہیں، یہ نہ ہوتی تو کچھ بھی نہ ہوتا کہیں، ان کا مطلب ہے کیا، ان کا مطلب ہے کیا، فاطمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا کا پتہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، تیری فضا کی دہلیز سے مانگ کر، تیری فضا کی دہلیز سے مانگ کر، معجزے لے گئے، معجزے لے گئے انبیاء فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا کا پتہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، غاصب و جو لعنت نہیں بھیجتا، غاصبوں پہ جو لعنت نہیں بھیجتا، ایسا بیٹا ہے کس، ایسا بیٹا ہے کس کام کا فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا کا پتہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، تم بھی پردے میں تھی کچھ تو واضح کرو، تم بھی پردے میں تھی کچھ تو واضح کرو، اور معراج میں، اور معراج میں کیا ہوا فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، لافتہ کے خدا، لافتہ کے خدا کا پتہ فاطمہ، لیلۃ القدر کا ترجمہ فاطمہ، صلوات
جزاک اللہ، بہت خوب، ایک بار اور صلوات پڑھی علی محمد و آل محمد۔ اب میں گزارش کرتا ہوں ہمارے اپنے جناب حسن جعفری صاحب سے کہ وہ آئیں اور بیوی کی شان میں کلام پیش کریں. صلوات پڑھی علی محمد و آل محمد.
ایک مرتبہ اور درود بھیجیں محمد.
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
چند اشعار بی بی کی مدح میں آپ کے لیے عرض ہے. آواز بلند نعرہ صلوات کے ساتھ.
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
جس طرح اللہ کو واجب ہے سجدہ صبح و شام، جس طرح اللہ کو واجب ہے سجدہ صبح و شام، اور ویسے ہی کرتا ہوں میں تسبیح زہرا صبح و شام، جس طرح اللہ کو. اور پی رہا ہوں مہر زہرا کا میں پانی رات دن، پی رہا ہوں مہر زہرا کا میں پانی رات دن، اور کھاتا ہوں در زہرا کا صدقہ صبح و شام، جس طرح اللہ کو. اور یہ بھی زہرا کی دعاؤں کا اثر ہے دوستو، یہ بھی زہرا کی دعاؤں کا اثر ہے دوستو، اور اچھا لگتا ہے عزا خانوں میں جانا صبح و شام، جس طرح اللہ کو واجب ہے سجدہ صبح و شام، اور میں جو کرتا ہوں تلاوت آیت تطہیر کی، میں جو کرتا ہوں تلاوت آیت تطہیر کی، اور اس طرح پڑھتا ہوں زہرا کا قصیدہ صبح و شام، جس طرح اللہ کو. ایک درود بھیجیے محمد و آل محمد.
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اور ان سے پھیلا دین حق، ان سے بڑھی نسل رسول، اور ایک کوثر ہیں علی اور ایک کوثر فاطمہ، ایک کوثر ہیں علی اور ایک کوثر فاطمہ اور نام ہے 10 بھی ہے زہرا کام تسبیح ہے خدا نام ہے 10 بھی ہے زہرا اور کام تسبیح ہے خدا اور ذکر تیرا ذکر حق ہے اللہ اکبر فاطمہ جس طرح اللہ کو اور تیری خدمت میں ہوا فضا کو قرآن بر زبان تیری خدمت میں ہوا فضا کو قرآن بر زبان اے لسان اللہ اے ایمان پرور فاطمہ اے لسان اللہ اے ایمان پرور فاطمہ اور آیت تطہیر لکھنے کے لیے تقدیر نے آیا تطہیر لکھنے کے لیے تقدیر نے تیری سیرت کو بنایا اس کا بستر فاطمہ تیری تصویروں کو بنایا اس کا بستر فاطمہ جس طرح اللہ کو
سبحان اللہ اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد بہت خوب حسن جوہر صاحب بہت بہت شکریہ ایک بار صلوات پڑھی علی محمد وعلی محمد نبی کی بیٹی علی کی زوجہ خدا کا ناطق کلام تو ہے نبی کی بیٹی علی کی زوجہ خدا کا ناطق کلام تو ہے بجز محمد تمام نبیوں میں وہ بلند مقام تو ہے جو تم نہ ہوتی بتا نہ سکتا کوئی مسائل کبھی نساء کو تمام دنیا کی عورتوں میں رسول تو ہے امام تو ہے اسی کے ساتھ میں گزارش کرتا ہوں دعوت دیتا ہوں جناب ذکی رضوی صاحب سے کہ وہ آئیں اور بی بی کی شان میں کلام پیش کریں بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات
السلام علیکم سب سے پہلے میں سوری ہوں کہ مجھے دیر ہو گئی آج نہیں ایک بار میں کس صلوات
اللہم صلی علی محمد
اسٹار مسٹر سب سے پہلے جناب میں آدمی صاحب کا آسماں والے سیدر سے رسد مانگتے ہیں آسماں والے سیدر سے رسد مانگتے ہیں انبیاء سے طہارت کی سند مانگتے ہیں انبیاء
سے طہارت کی سند مانگتے ہیں، مصطفیٰ دیتے ہیں مشکل میں علی کو آواز، مصطفیٰ دیتے ہیں مشکل میں علی کو آواز، اور علی فاطمہ زہرا سے مدد مانگتے ہیں، مصطفیٰ دیتے ہیں مشکل میں علی کو آواز، اور علی فاطمہ زہرا سے مدد مانگتے ہیں۔ صلوات
اور پاپا کا کلام سے ایک بار مل کر کے صلوات۔
خوشبوئے جنت ارم کی زندگی ہے فاطمہ، خوشبوئے جنت ارم کی زندگی ہے فاطمہ، گلشن دین خدا کی دلکشی ہے فاطمہ، خوشبوئے جنت ارم کی زندگی ہے فاطمہ، کہہ رہا ہے خطبہ باغ فدق دربار میں، کہہ رہا ہے خطبہ باغ فدق دربار میں، قول میں احمد بلاغت میں علی ہے فاطمہ، کیا کسی نے فرش مجلس پھر بچھایا ہے کہیں، کیا کسی نے فرش مجلس پھر بچھایا ہے کہیں، ایسی خوشبو ہے کہ جیسے آ رہی ہے فاطمہ، ایسی خوشبو کیا کسی نے فرش مجلس پھر بچھایا ہے کہیں، ایسی خوشبو ہے کہ جیسے آ رہی ہے فاطمہ، دشمنی ان کی جہنم، دوستی ان کی بہشت، دشمنی ان کی جہنم، دوستی ان کی بہشت، مرضی خالق پہ عنوان جلی ہے فاطمہ، گو بظاہر مفلسی ہے کچھ نہیں گھر میں مگر، گو بظاہر مفلسی ہے کچھ نہیں گھر میں مگر، ہر ضرورت مند کو کچھ دے رہی ہے فاطمہ، نیک بد ایام میں مل جل کے رہنا دوستوں، نیک بد ایام میں مل جل کے رہنا دوستوں، جاتے جاتے راستہ دکھلا رہی ہے فاطمہ.
اور مقطع پیش کر رہا ہوں.
تھی صدا منظور شہزادی کو ہم شیعوں کی فکر. تھی صدا منظور شہزادی کو ہم شیعوں کی فکر. اس لیے دل میں غلاموں کے بسی ہے فاطمہ. اس لیے دل میں غلاموں کے بسی ہے فاطمہ. گلشن دین خدا کی دلکشی ہے فاطمہ.
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. یہ تھے ہمارے جناب زکریا جی صاحب جو اپنے خوبصورت انداز سے انہوں نے یہ کلام بی بی فاطمہ سلام اللہ علیہ شان میں پیش کیا. تو ہے ایمان کا شرف، تو لا الہ کا راز ہے، دہر میں تیری خطابت کا نیا انداز ہے. تیرا ایک خطبہ بقائے دین کا ضامن، تیرا ایک خطبہ بقائے دین کا ضامن. تو ہے وہ پردہ نشین جس پر خدا کو ناز ہے. اسی کے ساتھ اب میں گزارش کرتا ہوں جناب کامران مہدی صاحب سے کہ وہ آئیں اور بی بی فاطمہ کی شان میں قصیدہ پیش کریں. ایک صلوات پڑھی اعلیٰ محمد و آل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ایک مرتبہ اور ضرور پڑھیں محمد والے.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ایک کلام کی دو اشعار سے.
بسم اللہ.
نور نگاہ شافع محشر ہے سیدہ. نور نگاہ شافع محشر ہے سیدہ. بانو شیر خالق اکبر ہے سیدہ. نور نگاہ شافع سیرت میں چال ڈھال میں صورت میں شکل میں سیرت میں چال ڈھال میں صورت میں شکل میں سرتا قدم رسول کا پیکر ہے سیدہ. نور نگاہ شافع کرتا ہے کیوں کسی سے تقابل و بے خبر. کرتا ہے کیوں کسی سے تقابل و بے خبر. اب طے ہے وہ جہان میں کوثر ہے سیدہ. نور نگاہ شافع. محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
اللهم صل على
کوئی گھر فاطمہ کے گھر سے ہو بڑھ کر تو ہم جانے، کوئی گھر فاطمہ کے گھر سے ہو بڑھ کر تو ہم جانے، کسی در پر سلامی خود ہو پیغمبر تو ہم جانے، کوئی گھر فاطمہ کے گھر سے ہو بڑھ کر تو ہم جانے، سوائے سیدہ کے در کے محشر تک کی مہلت ہے، سوائے سیدہ کے در کے محشر تک کی مہلت ہے، دکھا دو صحن مسجد میں کھلا ایک در تو ہم جانے، کوئی گھر فاطمہ کے گھر سے ہو بڑھ کر تو ہم جانے، قدم رکھے کھڑا ہے شان سے مہرے نبوت پر، قدم رکھے کھڑا ہے شان سے مہرے نبوت پر، کوئی دکھلاؤ ایسا صاحب منبر تو ہم جانے، کوئی گھر فاطمہ کے گھر سے ہو بڑھ کر تو ہم جانے، اور چلا تو ہے علی کی سمت بل کھاتا ہوا لیکن، چلا تو ہے علی کی سمت بل کھاتا ہوا لیکن، جو رہ جائے سلامت کلے اجدر تو ہم جانے، کوئی گھر فاطمہ کے گھر سے ہو بڑھ کر تو ہم جانے،
بہت بہت شکریہ، یہ تھے جناب کام مہدی صاحب جنہوں نے اپنے خوبصورت انداز میں کلام پیش کیا۔ سارے منقبت خان جو آج ہمارے اس محفل میں تشریف لائے، آپ سب کا بہت بہت شکریہ، اور مولا اس عبادت کو قبول فرمائے، اور ایک بار اور کہوں گا اللہ تعالیٰ ہماری توفیقات میں اضافہ فرمائے۔ اب میں درخواست کرتا ہوں، this I believe concludes the okay. And now for the, I would now like to request Brother Mustafa Kareem for the announcements today. Please welcome him with salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. For the Jashns and for the wafats, we are normally used to seeing Dr. Zahra doing the MC work, but tonight we have Salman Jafri, and Salman Jafri have done a very good job emceeing tonight's program. So thank you very much. Tonight's program has been sponsored by the families of Dr. Pervez and Mrs. Naeem Ahmadani, Mr. Zain and Mrs. Amreen Razak, Mr. Nadeem and Mrs. Shafa Buhari, Mr. Sayed and Mrs. Sadiqa Hussain, Mr. Shahyan and Mrs. Asma Haidar, Mr. Abbas and Mrs. Sajida Hussain, Mr. Salim and Mrs. Zema Rizvi. Please join me in reciting Surah Fatiha for the rulings of the sponsored families as well as your families. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Please also join me in reciting Dua Shifa for the sick and for the needy. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amma yujibul mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. 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 One public announcement, please make sure that your nose and your mouth is covered when you're wearing the mask and there's no leakage. Again, this is for your own safety and for the safety of all others who are in this masjid. Like they say, no one is safe until everyone is safe. So please make sure, not only here, but in the gatherings, just be careful to keep yourself safe and keeping others safe as well. With this, may I request Maulana to address tonight's gathering with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وبالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Greetings and felicitations on this very auspicious occasion upon which we celebrate the prosperous birth of the lady, the leader of all the women of universe, Sayyida Fatima al-Alameen, Khatim Jannah Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha. If some of you can move here forward, you can also socially distance yourself and not crowd it up back there. So if you can just get up and move a little bit with a loud nara salawat. Allah salli ala Muhammadin. As we gather on this very auspicious occasion, this basically officially marks the beginning of the season of Wiladat, right? This, if I'm not wrong in saying, kicks off the season of Milad that are about to come, as this is the end of Jumadi Thani, Jumadi Akhir, and then after this you have the months of Rajab and Shaban, of course, in which we get to celebrate many other Wiladat of our Masumi. But how befitting it is that we begin with this lady who is the markaz of and the centralized position, who holds the centralized position in all of the Ma'asumeen. And that's why 11th Imam, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi has said, Nahnu hujajullahi ala al-khalq. We are the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon creation. وَجَدَّتُنَا فَاطِمَةُ Zahra hujjatun lana. And our Jadda Fatima, she is hujjat upon us. Just imagine when Ma'asumeen are speaking in a way that they are the hujjat and the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the creation. And for them who is hujjat, it is this lady, just imagine the maqam and the manzilat of Fatima Zahra. And that is why in the majlis of our shahadat, I had mentioned that the reason she is compared to Laylatul Qadr is because khalq and the creation is unable to recognize the essence of the creation of Fatima Zahra. Yes, she is in this physical form, this bodily structure which is given, but the khilqat of Fatima Zahra, as the riwayah says, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created her min azmat nurihi, that Allah created her with the azmat of his own nur. And for that reason, I chose this ayat, which is known as ayat Tatahir, the verse of Tatahir, the verse of purification, for tonight's discussion. And when we look at the birth and the blessed birth of this lady, we find that while the world was thinking that Rasulullah will leave this world and he will not have a legacy and his name will be forgotten, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that wa'ada, that promise he had made to the Holy Prophet by saying, "Wala sawfa yu'tika rabbuka fatarda," that an qareeb, very soon, we will give you which will satisfy you, O Habib. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to satisfy the Holy Prophet. The implementation of that promise which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made was in the form of inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Indeed, we have given you Kawthar. That Kawthar being the daughter that Rasulullah was bestowed with, through which the progeny was given to Rasulullah. For he used to say that whenever he would see Amirul Mu'mineen walk into a gathering, he would stand up, he would kiss Ali on his forehead, he would make him sit next to him. People will question, "Oh, Rasulullah, do you love this man?" Rasulullah said, "How can I not love him?" That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left the progeny of all the prophets in their sulb, and he left my progeny in the sulb of Ali ibn Abi Talib. That is one reason why I love this individual. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So her Nurani birth takes place when Rasulullah ascends to Mi'raj. And when he ascended to Mi'raj, Rasulullah, with all the things that he witnessed over there, that ayat of Quran and ayat of Surah Najm talk about, that we showed him our signs, our greatest of the signs. And upon the return, Rasulullah refrained from any physical food or any worldly food or any physical relationship. And then Bibi Khadija salamullah alayha thought that Rasulullah is ignoring, or felt as if she was being ignored, in a sense that Rasulullah was avoiding everyone and everything. And then Rasulullah explained to her after 40 days, no, when I had ascended to the heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordered Jibril, who brought me close to this tree. From that tree, I ate the fruit of that tree. and the birth of Fatima Zahra is because of that fruit that I had eaten in that paradise. And that's why Rasulullah would always smell the fragrance of Fatima Zahra. And every time after smelling it, he would say, I just smell the fragrance of the heavens and the paradise. So from here we understand that this ayat which I recited for you, Surah Ahzab, chapter 33, ayat number 33, which is not from the beginning, rather from the middle onwards and up to the end, which says, Innama. Indeed, it is the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yuridullah, and that there is the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep all types of impurity away from you, O those who are the Ahlul Bayt. With this ayat, what I wanted to do tonight is have a discussion which will be answering 3 questions. First discussion that we want to have is the relationship of this ayat with the Hadith Kisa. This Hadith Kisa, which was recited in the beginning of the program and which is the zenith of all of our programs, that our programs do not, our majalis, whether it be majalis or Jashn, do not begin without the recitation of this blessed hadith. What is the connection of this hadith with the ayat Tathir? Number 2, we will look briefly on the authenticity of Hadith Kisa, as many have raised questions regarding the authenticity of it as well. And lastly, which will be the most important aspect of our discussion tonight, we will look at some of the matalib, some of the discussions that we find in Hadith Kisa that sometimes because of the excessive recitation, we may have overlooked. And I promise you this, that inshallah after tonight's discussion, next time, which will not be too long after when you hear Hadith Kisa, because the Hadith is recited in every one of our programs and Majlis and Jashn, you will look at that Hadith differently because we don't pay attention to the matalib that are mentioned in this Hadith. So let's begin that as far as the connection between Hadith Kisa and this ayat Tathir is concerned. We all understand the story which is behind it is, as it is told in this Hadith Kisa, is that Rasulullah enters into the house of Janab Sayyida. He asks for Yamani cloak and tells her that I feel, under the weather. And after having said that, one after another, Hassanain come into the house, Amirul Mu'mineen comes into the house. Then Janab Sayyida also joins them. And when they all had joined in under the cloak, this is where one of the wives of Rasulullah, Mu'mineen, Salma was mawjood. She said, O Rasulullah, am I also part of Ahl Kisa or Ahlul Bayt? Rasulullah responded by saying, La, anti ala al-khair, you are on the right path, but you do not belong in this ayat Tathir, nor do you belong in this cloak. And then after having stopped Salma, we see, which is not mentioned in Hadith Kisa, by the way, that mention is not in Hadith Kisa, but this is where Amirul Mu'mineen and Janab Sayyida, when they all had entered, Rasulullah makes this dua, which I will inshallah highlight towards the end. Someone does enter this cloak, that too was also a ma'soom. So from this aspect, we look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah did not permit anyone other than ma'soom to enter this hadith, this kisa rather. So what is the connection that we find in the relationship between hadith kisa and ayat Tathir? Mafhum of the word Ahlul Bayt. You look at that when the ayah says, Innama yuridullahu liyudhiba ankum ar-rijsa Ahlul Bayt. The word Ahlul Bayt, what does it mean? There's a discussion, and linguistics have spoken a great deal regarding this word. In fact, in Quran, this word has appeared only twice. Once in this ayat, ayat Tathir, chapter 33, verse 33. Second, you find it in Surah Hud, ayat number 73. In this ayat, I recited for you in the beginning, and I'm sure this ayat Tathir does not require further recitation, as we all, mashallah, have it memorized and we even know what it stands for and the meaning behind it. In Surah Hud, Allah says, Qalu, And this was a discussion between the family of Hazrat Ibrahim that قالوا أتعجبين من أمر الله رحمة الله وبركاته عليكم أهل البيت. Do you feel amazed at the decree and the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, while the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the blessings be on Ahlul Bayt? So who are these Ahlul Bayt which are being referred to over here? It is mentioned, it is the family of Hazrat Ibrahim, for example. The word Ahl has appeared differently in various way in Quran or outside. For example, just to understand what the word Ahl means, you find this word Ahl is always izafa with another word. Ahl what? Ahlul Qura masalan, Ahlul Injil masalan, Ahlul Amr wal Nahi masalan, Ahlul Kitab masalan, Ahlul Islam masalan, Ahlul Ma masalan. These are different ways that you find this word has happened or has appeared. What does that mean when it says Ahlul Injil? No, the people of the book of Injil. What does it mean when it says Ahlul Kitab? We know the word Ahlul Kitab has appeared in Quran and outside, which means the people of the book. The people of the book refers to Christians and the Jews and Zoroastrians as well. Ahlul Kitab, those who received some sort of scripture from or divine scripture from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, all these other words, Ahl, have come with something else. What do you understand when you say Ahlul Injil, Ahlul Kitab, Ahlul Islam? Meaning there's this relationship between that which is being izafa toward Ahl. That means those people are of this. They mean they have the Ahliyat. They mean they belong over here. That's why I don't think just the fact that a person is related automatically belongs to the family. Well, I'll give you an example. Hazrat Nuh's son was not boarding the ship. Hazrat Nuh said to him, Ya bunayya irkam ma'ana, oh my son, board the ship. Otherwise you will be destroyed. He said, no, Sahabi, I will take refuge onto the mountain and I will be saved. He said, today nothing will save you. And then once his son was drowning, what did Hazrat Nuh do? Hazrat Nuh made a dua, which is in Quran. Oh Allah, inna wa'adak al-haq. Allah, your promise is on haq. Wa innahu min ahli. And this is from my ahl. This is my son. This is who is my, of course, my progeny, ahl. Hazrat Nuh used that word. What was the response of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We've all heard this story. Innahu laysa min ahlik. Innahu amalun ghayru salih. No, don't think that he is your ahl. Now we understand the criteria for ahl. Ahl is only the person whose amal is salih. If you find anyone, even if it's the family of the Prophet, whose amal are ghayr salih, you do not consider those individuals from Ahlul Bayt. Similarly, when you don't consider those who the real son of Rasul, Hazrat Nuh, to be his Ahl, when he has done something which is ghayr salih, then how can you go ahead and include others who are not part of the family of Rasulullah and their actions on top of that also conclude the fact in Surah Tahrim that their amal were definitely ghayr salih. How do you go about including them into this hadith Kisa? Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So where we find this word ahl is used usually when it's izafa to those things that have a strong connection with it. If there's not enough strong connection, then you don't use the word ahl with it. That's why you have the word alullah, you have alu rasulih or alu rasulillah, meaning the awliya. Actually, the word was ahl. From ahl, you got to al. In Arabic, there's this qaida where the ha was converted into a hamza. So it became hamza, hamza, lam, al. And then when you have the two hamzas repeated one after another, there's iltiqa of the hamzatain. The second hamza is converted into alif. Because in Arabic, there's no alif, there's hamza. The second hamza is converted into alif. So when you have a hamza followed by alif, this is usually taught in the tajweed class as well. This becomes a long vowel where you put a madda on top of it, and it becomes al. So from ahl, you can go to al very easily like this. That means what? The word al and the word ahl are both same in the same meaning, which refers to over here, those who are Ahlul Bayt over here. So the word originally was like this. Now let me bring you to that hadith. That there is a possibility that this hadith Kisa took place in the house of Salma, because our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah, they narrate, and they narrated from the side of Salma. This is the tradition. And Salma said, Inna Nabi kana fi bayti. Rasulullah was in my house. فَاسْتَدَعَا عَلِيًّا وَفَاطِمَةً وَالْحَسَنَ وَالْحُسَيْنِ. And then he called upon Fatima, Ali, Hassan, and Hussein. وَجَلَّلَهُمْ بِإِبَاعَةٍ خَيْبَرِيَّةٍ. And then he covered them, or جَلَّلَهُمْ, got them together, and he bestowed upon them with this tajleel and honored them with an aba, which is from Khaybar. And then he said, Allahumma haulai ahlu bayti. Oh Allah, these are my ahli bayt. Faqalat, Salma said at that point, Qultu ya Rasulullah, O Rasulullah, ana min ahli baytik. Am I also your ahli bayt? Qala la, walakinnaki ila khair. You are not from Ahlul Bayt, but you are upon khair. You are upon righteousness. So there's one thing to be on righteousness, and then there's another thing to be in part of this Kisa and the part of this Ahl. Second riwayah that I want to mention over here is from Amirul Mu'mineen. What are we trying to prove over here? We're trying to prove the relationship and the connection of Hadith Kisa with the Ayat Tathir. So don't lose the focus of it. The second tradition is found in the book of Ihtijaj, and Amirul Mu'mineen is doing this Ihtijaj ila Abi Bakr. Haythu qal, when he said to him, Akhbirni an qawlillah, O Abu Bakr, tell me about the qawl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he says, Innama yuridu Allahu liyudhiba ankum ar-rijsa ahlal bayt wa yutahhirakum tathira. Then when he said this, Salawat bi Muhammad wa alayhi, he said, Afina nazalat or fi ghayrina nazalat. These are the words of Amirul Mu'mineen. So what I say is part of the riwayat. A lot of time what happens is that when we are doing naql qawl, we are quoting the ibarat of a book. We might use the words which might show respect to those whom you're not accustomed to hearing respect to. That is not the fact that we are trying to give them tajleel and honor and respect. No, we are doing naql qawl. That means what? I'm only quoting what is the riwayah says. And sometimes part of the riwayah would be something which might be against what you're accustomed to hearing. Regarding Ahlul Bayt, you might hear something which is not appropriate. That does not mean the person who's reciting is saying that. It's just naql qawl to establish a point. That is the case over here as well. So Amirul Mu'mineen said, Afina nazalat, did it reveal in our favor? Or fi ghayrina? Or was it revealed for someone other than us? Abu Bakr responded by saying that, no, fikum, this was revealed for you and there's no doubt about it. This is as far as his testimony is concerned. Then Amirul Mu'mineen, of course, Amirul Mu'mineen was setting him up. He was establishing a point. So you got to stay with what the point Imam is trying to establish. He said, was this ayat, Innama yuridullah, that indeed Allah's irada takwini is to keep us Ahlul Bayt pure from all types of rights that you could think of. Was it revealed for us or was it revealed for someone other than us? He said, definitely it was revealed for you. It was revealed for you. Fikum, that is for you only, exclusively. Then he says, فَأَخْبِرْنِي لَوْ أَنَّ شَاهِدَيْنِ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ شَهِدًا. If two Muslim gawah, shahid, witnesses come to you, shahida ala Fatima bifahishatin ma kunta sani'an. They come forward and they give witness, or they bear witness for an action, na'udhu billah, again I'm doing naql qawl, of indecency to Fatima Zahra. فَكَيْفَ صَانِعًا? What will you do? Because you are the hakim right now. So if two of the Muslims come and bear witness, and this is, today, and unfortunately some of the Muslim countries, it is so easy to go ahead and give shahadat, false accusation on someone for blasphemy, for something else, and there are rules and there are laws which are then, of course, sometimes not fair. So what if two people of Muslims come and do this, and they associate an act of indecency to Fatima Zahra? What would you do as hakim? He responded by saying, قَالَ كُنْتُ أُقِيمُ عَلَيْهَا الْحَدْ. I will go ahead and prosecute her. Had jari karunga, because there got two witnesses who are bearing witnesses. Kama uqimu ala nisa'il muslimin. The same way I would have done it for any other women of Islam. Amir al-Mu'mineen, after having established this, who was this ayat that he revealed for us, Ahlul Bayt? You know the meaning of the surah. And then he said, if two people came and bear witness against Fatima Zahra for something, what would you do? He said, I will go ahead and punish her because of what she has done. Amir al-Mu'mineen responded, قال الإمام إذن كنت عند الله من الكافرين. Then you have just become kafir according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, قال لما? How did I become kafir according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? قال لأنك رددت شهادة الله لها بالطهارة وقبلت شهادة الناس عليها, because you refused the shahadat and the witness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on her haqq, that إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت, and you have accepted the shahadat of the people against her. So you are accepting the shahadat of mere people, and you're rejecting the shahadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then Imam gave further proof in regards. This is where Amir al-Mu'mineen is standing up. And here we understand the connection between Hadith Kisa and Ayat Tathir. In fact, Hadith Kisa and the Quran and many other ayat of Quran as well. Imam then also mentioned, Man aada Fatima faqad aadani. Rasulullah has said, whoever harms Fatima indeed harms me. Wa man aadani faqad aadallah. And whoever harms me indeed harms, and not harms in a sense that annoys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is directly out of the ayat of Quran, because Quran says, Innal ladina yu'dhuna Allah wa rasulahu. Although those people who annoy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his prophet, what do they get? It says, لَعْنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. The same chapter 33, ayat number 57 says, those who harm or those who annoy Prophet and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the smallest of the annoyance, what happens to that individual? La'anahumullahu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one sending la'nat upon them. وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. And Allah muhina, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has definitely left a severe punishment for this individual. So from all of these, we understand the close relationship of Hadith Kisa with ayat of Quran, especially ayat Tathir. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Second question that is raised is as far as the authenticity of Hadith Kisa. That you recite this hadith almost on daily basis. What is the authenticity of this hadith? Is this hadith even authentic? Did this event even take place? Why have you looked at the words of this hadith? So in order to speak about the authenticity of Hadith Kisa, there are 70 narrations in the books of Ahl Sunnah. 70 narrations, their own, not taken from Shia, because there are many hadiths which are then you find both in Shia hadith and Sunni hadith. But there's 70 exclusive in the books of Ahl Sunnah from their own sources, from their own chain of transmitters. Because what happens, a lot of time, even Imam Bukhari refrained from taking hadith from 6 Imam. 6 Imam from whom we have the entire fiqh and hadith in Ahl Tashayyu pretty much. Imam Bukhari refrained from taking any hadith from him. When he refrains from taking any hadith from him, that means he refrained from taking a hadith from those who are transmitting from sixth Imam as well. So you think you'll find any hadith from the Shia transmitters in the book of Imam Bukhari? Rarely. So with that said, you still find 70 different places and narrations from different turuq that are found in the books of Ahl Sunnah regarding this hadith Kisa. And the book that I'm quoting this from narrates all of them. And then the second thing, of course, in our own books, not that we really need anyone to go ahead and certify anything for us. We don't need to get into the discussion of only if the other side can go ahead and testify that it is true, we're going to believe them. Our books are filled with many more than 70 narrations and connections and the transmissions regarding this hadith Kisa. And the biggest of all is the person who's narrating it. It is coming from not an ordinary individual. It is being narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, who narrates directly from An Fatima Zahra. Usually you find that, that people, you rarely heard the names of the people who are narrating from Imam Masum. You might hear the name Zurara repeatedly. You might hear the name of Aban repeatedly. You might hear the name of other of these, narrators, which you don't really know much about. But when someone says, An Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, Jabir is not an ordinary individual. It is enough for the reliability of Jabir is that Jabir is someone who witnessed 7 Ma'asum. Jabir is someone who has quoted 7 Ma'asum. Jabir is someone who has seen up till the 5th Imam. And not just by incident or accident. In fact, because of the riwayat, Rasulullah said to him, "O Jabir, you will see the 5th one from the progeny of Fatima, from the progeny of Ali, who will be the 5th Imam. His name will be my name, and his attributes will be mine. When you see him, Balligh alayhi salami, when you see him, convey my salam to him." And Jabir, when he enters upon, he had gone blind at that time, in the time of Imam Muhammad Baqir, alayhi salatu wasalam, he reaches and he conveys the salam of Rasulullah. So the one who's responsible for conveying the salam of Rasulullah, you're going to go ahead and challenge his authenticity and reliability. So therefore, no kalam as far as the authenticity and the reliability of hadith Kisa is concerned. Jabir's name is enough to go ahead and verify. And the third discussion that I have, which will take a little bit longer than the first two, is also going to make you, if it already hasn't convinced you, or if there was any doubt created by any way, because these doubts come about all the time, will remove any doubts. Why? Because one of the criterion that we have regarding the hadith is what? Go ahead and measure the hadith with Kalamullah. If the hadith is in line with Kalamullah, take it. If the hadith is not in line with Kalamullah, then fadribu al-jidar. Then throw it away. When I mention the next few lines in front of you, you will see the collaboration and the corroboration and the connection that this hadith Kisa has with the ayat of Quran, which will also make us understand the strength and the reliability and how this was only revealed for these Ahl Kisa. Salawatu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The last discussion that I have for you is the topics of Hadith Kisa. What are some of the topics that are mentioned in Hadith Kisa? We find that the first topic could be that how Rasulullah gathered his family, one after another. And when they all had gathered, this was, of course, a divine plan for all of them. They may have been gathered on numerous occasions, but for this occasion, this was narrated, this was quoted, this was explained, this was mentioned. Why? Because Rasulullah had made a few claims in this gathering. The first claim that Rasulullah makes, he says, Allahumma inna ha'ulai ahlu bayti, lahmuhum lahmi, khasati wa hammati, lahmuhum lahmi, wa damuhum dami, yu'limuni ma yu'limuhum. وَيَحْزُنُنِي مَا يَحْزُنُهُمْ أَنَا حَرْبٌ لِمَنْ حَارَبَهُمْ وَسِلْمٌ لِمَنْ سَالَمَهُمْ and ila akhir. Remember the story that I had mentioned to you, that Sheikh Mufid, when he came across one of these scholars of Ahl-Sunnah, and there was a discussion between the two. You know, Sheikh Mufid is called Sheikh Mufid, and the title of Mufid is given to him by whom? Imam Zamana. Imam Zamana bestowed Sheikh Mufid with the title Mufid. Anta Mufid Haqqan. That, oh Mufid, you are definitely Mufid Haqqan, no doubt about it, for our people. So continue giving fatwa, and we will back you up whenever there's a need for you to go ahead and do so. There was a discussion that I had mentioned where, you know, there was a discussion regarding the Khilafat. So Sheikh Mufid with this Ahl Sunnah, the scholar, sitting down, having a discussion on Hadith Ghadir, the event of Ghadir. He said, what do you say about Ghadir's event? Is that true? Man kuntu mawla fa'adha lin mawla. We agree upon the fact that Rasulullah had announced the wilayat of Ali, no doubt about it. He said, then why are we fighting? Let's end this whole tanazu. Let's end all of this, you know, discord amongst us and agree to the fact that Ali was the first Khalifa. He said, no. Hadith Ghadir is riwayat. And the Khilafat of first Khalifa is dirayat. Meaning what? Dirayat is something which you could feel that happened, that is documented. Riwayat is riwayat at the end of the day. It happened, it may not have happened. You know, because if it had really happened, then something would have shown afterwards. But dirayat is something which took place and nobody can deny it. So therefore, the Khilafat of the first Khalifa is dirayat. And the Hadith Ghadir is just a riwayat. No aqil and rational individual will take dirayat or rather riwayat over dirayat. Can you tell me that you're going to take merely a riwayat over that which actually took place in the history and is mawjood in the books of history? So you know where the discussion was headed. Sheikh Mufid stopped. He said, you know, I'll stop over here. He said, fine. We agree to what you're saying, that we should never take riwayat over dirayat. He said, yes, that is the formula. He said, now let's come to this hadith. Lahmuhum lahmi wa damuhum dami. That Rasulullah said, their lahm is my lahm, their flesh is my flesh, wa damuhum dami, and their blood is my blood. Innahum minni wa ana minhum. They are from me and I am from them. He said, yes, true. All of that is authentic. Rasulullah said that regarding Ahlul Bayt when they all gathered under the cloak. He said, when you say that, then those people who stood up against Ali ibn Abi Talib in the battle of Jamal, and those who stood up against Ali ibn Abi Talib in the battle of Siffin, what do you say to them? Are they not standing up against Rasulullah? Because Rasulullah said regarding Ali and Fatima and Hassan and Hussein, lahmuhum lahmi, damuhum dami, yu'limuni ma yu'limuhum, wa yahzununi ma yahzunuhum. Ana harbun liman harab. I am at the war with those, they are at war. You realize that? So yes. That means those who are standing up against Ali ibn Abi Talib in war, that means they were standing up against Rasulullah according to this. He said, yes, yes. But, you know, those people, it is mentioned in the riwayat that those people went ahead and made tawbah. There's no doubt about what happened. The history books is there. Siffin happened. Battle of Siffin happened. Battle of Jamal took place. But those people afterwards made ahead and made tawbah. Sheikh Mufid stopped him. He said, just a moment ago you had said, we do not take riwayat over dirayat. Who is saying that these people made tawbah? And if they did, it's just a riwayat that they made tawbah. Battle of Jamal was dirayat. Battle of Siffin was dirayat. You just claimed a moment ago that we do not take riwayat over dirayat. Then why are you breaking your own law over here? Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So remember, if I had mentioned earlier that there's a discussion, where did this event of Kisa took place? Did it take place in the house of Wiladat Sayyida? Or did it take place in the house of Janabi Salma? Of course, in the riwayat of Ahl Sunnah, it is mentioned that it took place in the house of Janabi Salma, and I recited the riwayat earlier for you, so that riwayat is with you. The Janabi Salma, she said Rasulullah called upon all these, they came and all that happened. Now, we believe that it was revealed in the house of Janabi Sayyida because in the Hadith, يَبْدَأُ بِقَوْلِ لِسَانِ Fatima. The Hadith begins with the all of the kalam of Janabi Sayyida. It did not start from the all of the kalam of the household member over there, which is Salma. So it's the house of Salma, she would have started the Hadith. Rather, this Hadith is starting from the kalam of Janabi Sayyida. Secondly, we find what over here is that Janabi Sayyida in the beginning says, Dakhala alayya abi. Entered upon me is my father. That means entered upon me in the house of someone else while I was doing their watch. Does not stand together. You say, well, what difference does it make? Whether it was revealed in the house of Salma or whether it was revealed in the house of Janabi Sayyida, what difference does it make? As long as the implementation is there. Then Hadith Kisa is regarding Ahlul Bayt. There's a big difference. Because if we agree to the riwayat of Ahl Sunnah which says it was revealed in the house of Salma, then we will have to go ahead and include, according to the irada takwini of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ismat and the taharat and the irada of Allah will either be specific or include, as they claim, the wives of Rasulullah as well. And because it is being revealed in their house, that means what? They are also part of that house. When it says, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ, that means, oh, the people of the house. Then Salma's house is there. That means she's also part of it. So we'll have to agree to that fact. So from here you understand the shubha that is created, that no, it was not in the house of Fatima Zahra. It was in the house of one of the wives of Rasulullah, to go ahead and bring to the point where the wives are also included. So that's one thing. Number two, he says, Dakhala alayya abi fi ba'd al-ayyam. Janabi Sayyid says, my father will enter in some of the days. Fi ba'd al-ayyam. And then she said, he would come and he would find shelter in my house. And he would find comfort in my house. He will come and look for peace in my house. These are the words of Hadith Kisa that you recite, so I'm not repeating those words. Now my question is, why is it that Rasulullah finding peace and comfort in the house of his daughter? Well, Quran tells us in Surah Rum that people, in regards to, it says, خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you for you, your azwaj, your spouses, so that you may find peace and comfort in them. Quran is telling us to find peace and comfort. The ayat is revealed on Rasulullah, and alhamdulillah, we find this peace and comfort. So there's nothing against what I'm saying over here regarding our spouse, that we find peace and comfort in them. But here, out of all the people, shouldn't Rasulullah be acting upon this ayat of Quran which is revealed unto him, oh Rasul, go find peace and comfort in your wife. And you have many choices. You got many wives right there. So you can find peace and comfort in any one of them that you like. This ayat was revealed, of course, after the wafat of Janabi Khadijatul Kubra. So keep that in mind as well. That go find peace and comfort in your wife. Why is Rasulullah coming to the house of his daughter while Quran is saying this way? It is to tell us that Fatima Zahra is not just the daughter of Rasulullah. She is Ummu Abiha. She's the mother of her father. The way a son looks for the comfort and seeks refuge, regardless of how old the son may be. You may be 70 years old, and if your mother is still alive, you find that peace and comfort in your mother. You would go and put your head in the same way. Similar is the case with Janabi Rasulullah, who had lost his mother. Janabi Sayyida was playing the role of the mother of Rasulullah. That's why she had the title of Abiha. Thus Rasulullah was finding the comfort in the house of Fatima Zahra. Salamullahi alayha. Salawatu Muhammad wa Muhammad. Then you read in Hadith Kisa, فَلَمَّا اكْتَمَلْنَا جَمِيعًا تَحْتَ الْكِسَى. When all of us had gathered iktamalna, falamma iktamalna, that means kamal pe pahunch jana. That means when it was completed. That means when it was perfected. Al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. When something has reached its perfection. Just for a moment, I want your attention. That there's a difference between kamal and tamam. Ayat of Quran says, akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use two different words? Kamal deen wa tamam ni'mat. In fact, there's a book, Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Ni'ma, right? Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Ni'ma. What is the difference between Kamal and Tamam? Kamal and Tamam are translated in English as, complete. Both could be referred to as complete. When, for example, you say, well, this masjid, many of you saw this masjid being built in front of you, and now many of you are witnessing the school being built in front of you. When the masjid was being built, all those years when the masjid was being built and you were holding the program in the house in front, you could see the structure was there. But you won't say the masjid is complete yet. Until you had the inauguration back in 2010, then you said masjid is now complete. What do you mean by complete? Well, we had these different parts. The roof, the sheetrocks, the walls, the windows, the doors, all of these different elements were separate. When all these elements came together to form this structure, now you would say this is tamam. That means it's completed. The project is complete. So can we say this is kamal? You say, no, you can't say it is kamal yet. It is only tamam. Tamam meaning that it is complete from the aspect of the builder's perspective, that I have constructed it to the fullest. Nothing else left in constructing it. So then what's the difference between tamam and kamal? He said the moment the masjid is now being used for the purpose that a masjid is used for, that means salat is being established in the masjid and the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being raised, then masjid reaches its kamal. So tamamiyat, from the aspect of construction, was done. It was tamam. Any onlooker from outside, all the people who had come from Franklin Township, the mayor and all these people, they saw the masjid is complete. You said, no, it's not complete yet. Completion from the physical aspect is done. But to reach kamal is to go ahead a step further, which is when the essence of masjid is being utilized. That means the salat is being done and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being taking place over here. That's why Janab Sayyida, she did not say falammat tamamna jami'an tahtal kisa. She said falammat tamalna jami'an tahtal kisa. When the entire, all of these people had entered under the kisa, that means they had reached to that perfection where no one else was needed to be added into this kisa. There was no room for anyone else to be added. It had already reached its kamal. When you say masjid had reached its kamal, now do you go ahead and add something on top of it for it to reach its kamal? No, it had already reached its kamal. Al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum. Now I have perfected the religion. Similar is the case that this tahtal kisa has been completed and has been perfected. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Why? Because Ashabul Kisa la yanqasuna wa la yazidun. The Ashab of Kisa cannot be marked any less, or nor can they be added anyone else to it. And then if someone had hard time understanding who are these Ahlul Kisa, Rasulullah spelled it for them. I'm looking at it, spell it for this person. He's not understanding it. He said, Hum Fatimatu wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. If you have any doubt, who are these Ahl Kisa? Let it be known, it is Fatima, and naming her because she has the centralized position. Wa ba'luha wa banu abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. It is these individuals and no one else is part of it. So here we see that Rasulullah had to spell it out for these people as to who are part of it. You will see when Allah says to Hazrat Jibril, Fatima, Abuha, her father, Ba'luha, Amirul Mu'mineen, her husband, Banuha. There's a reason the word Banuha is used, although there are only two sons, Hassan and Hussein. There's not a third son there. He should have said from the aspect of Arabic linguistics, ibnayha, right? Now, we got some, mashallah, Arabic speaking people sitting over here. You have ibn, you have ibnan, one son and two sons. So in Arabic, you have singular, dual, and plural. Usually in other languages, you don't have the dual. In Arabic, you have the dual. Should have said, ibnayha, hum Fatimatu, wa abuha, wa ba'luha, wa ibnayha, or ibnaha, for example, and in the holiday, lamma. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say that. He said ibnay, instead of ibnayha, said banuha. You know the reason behind it? The reason behind it is that tomorrow if someone says, well, Ahle Kisa are only these 5, Panjatan are only these 5, Ma'asum are only these 5, then why do you consider the other Imams to be Ma'asum? He said there was Gunjaish there was room there, but they were not physically present, their arwah were there. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Hum Fatimatu, wa abuha, wa ba'luha, wa banu. That means the progeny and the children of Fatima Zahra, they are all part of it. That's the zarfiyat of this kalam, that the word banu is used over here in the plural sense to include all the Aimma Athar up until the last of our Imams. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then when he says faqala Jibril, I skipped through some of the things, inshallah I'll mention it another time. So faqala laminu Jibril, ya Rabbi wa man tahta al-Kisa. Oh my Rabb, who are these under the Kisa? Did you wonder why would Jibril Amin, who is sharing all the secrets from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Holy Prophet, delivering the wahi to Rasulullah, would ask such a question? Oh, who are these people? Does he not know? Up until this point, has he not brought the wahi to Rasulullah? This is not the first ayah which is being revealed. Is he not aware of who this person is? Of course he knows. Is he not aware who are these other people in the Kisa? You say, well, he knows Rasulullah, but he may not know other people. No, he knows others as well. There's just as strong a connection that Jibreel has with others that are part of this Kisa. Then why is he asking, Ya Rabbi wa man tahta al-Kisa? Oh Rabb, who are these people tahta al-Kisa? Sometimes the question is not out of ignorance. Pay attention. Question is not out of ignorance that who is under the Kisa. Sometimes the question is to go ahead and make the azamat of the individuals even highlighted more. To highlight the azamat of someone, sometimes people say, go ahead and introduce them. You know, all these people know that who has come here and who has spoken, you still go ahead and introduce that individual. This person is so-and-so. We all know that person is. For example, Marja Taqleed comes and gives a lecture here in Masjid-e-Ali, and our MC will come and introduce the Marja Taqleed. He said, today we welcome no other than this great Marja Taqleed who has done this, who has done this. No, we all know him. Why is there a need to go ahead and make him or introduce him to us? We all know him. From the same aspect that we want to give azamat to this individual who has come, and by introducing them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants Jibreel to ask this question so that further elaboration of the azamat of Ahlul Bayt could be mentioned. Hum Ahlul Bayt al-Nubuwwah. They are the house, Ahlul Bayt, which is the house of Nubuwwat. Ma'adinur Risala. This is the house where the Risala is. Mahbat al-Wahi. This is the place where the Wahi used to come down. All of these sifat, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds when Jibreel Amin had asked. And then Jibreel said, oh Allah, now that you've explained that this is Fatima, this is her father, this is her husband, these are her children, and the progeny to come. Oh Allah, give me permission to join them. Right? Jibreel asks for this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the permission. He goes, and when he enters, although Allah has already given permission, he once again asks for the permission. Quran also mentions that when you enter on the house of an individual, knock before you enter. And when you enter the house of Rasul, go ahead and knock on the house of Rasulullah before you enter. Don't just barge into the house of Rasulullah. Jibreel is showing us the protocol. that when I come down to the house and Bayt Fatima, it's not Bayt Rasul. We established the fact that was not the house of Salma, which of course is the house of Rasulullah. Salma did not have a house. It was the house of Rasulullah, the chamber that he had given to her. But this is the house of Fatima, where Jibril is coming down and knocking and asking and seeking permission to enter. The place where Jibril has to seek the permission. How dare can someone go ahead and knock this door down? With that said, Jibril says to Rasulullah, فَهَلْ تَأْذَنُ لِي يَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أَنْ أَدْخُلَ مَعَكُمْ? Oh Rasulullah, do you give me the permission to enter into this kisa, this cloak, whether it's Yamani or Khaybari or wherever it may have been from? Do you give me the permission to enter? And of course, Rasulullah grants him the permission to enter. Also mentions over here, Salma asked if she had entered. She asked, oh Rasulullah, can I come? He said, no, anti al khair, but you can come inside. Jibreel comes, asks, oh Rasulullah, can I enter? Rasulullah said, yes, come and enter. Oh Allah, oh Rasulullah, what's the difference that you allowed one person to enter, but you did not allow the other one to enter? Of course, the answer is simple in front of us. One is the angel of Allah, the other is the makhluk of Allah. And on top of that, Jibreel is not an ordinary individual. Jibreel is Masoom. He's Malakul Ameen and he's Ruhul Qudus. And that is the reason he's been granted the permission. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And inshallah, the last portion, and I'll bring it to conclusion. Last is Imam Ali's question. These are all the segments of Hadith Kisa. I've just divided for you so you can understand it better. Lastly, the last thing that happens in Hadith Kisa is the question asked by Imam Ali. Now, Jibreel asked a question. Oh Rasulullah, who are these people? Now Imam Ali asks a question. What is this question? He says, فَقَالَ عَلِيٌّ. Ali said, لِأَبِي. Did I say it? Narrating, right? My husband said to my father, Ya Rasulullah, أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. What is the fadilat of this julus, this gathering which is underneath and where this discussion is done? This is the question that Amirul Mu'mineen is asking. Now, there are two types of needs that all of us have. We have the physical needs and we have the spiritual needs. The maddi zaruriyat and the ma'anavi zaruriyat. The materialistic needs and the immaterial needs. Rasulullah answers Ali ibn Abi Talib in two different ways. Faqala thaniyan, right? There's the first answer and there's the second answer. What did Rasulullah answer Amirul Mu'mineen? His first answer was regarding the halat of ruh, that your spiritual needs. Look at the benefit of Hadith Kisa. This mahfil began with Hadith Kisa. The mahfil in which Hadith Kisa is recited, these are the benefits of it. You recite it every day. You hear it in every program and every Jashn. The first need is the need of the ruh, and the second need is the need of the physical aspect. Of course, our needs for like the food and libas, which are the physical needs, are limited because you can only eat so much. And you get what you need to eat and what you need to wear to the extent that you need it. You don't really need more than what you already have. But the spiritual needs are unlimited, infinite. There's no cap on your spiritual needs. There's a cap on your physical needs, but there's no cap on your spiritual needs. That means what? Your spiritual needs could be salat. Your spiritual needs could be knowledge. Your spiritual needs could be contemplation. All of these could be unlimited, but your physical needs are all limited. Look at the response by Rasulullah when he responded lihajat al-aql wal-ruh regarding the spiritual needs. He said, nazalat alayhim ar-rahma wa haffat bihim al-malaika wa astaghfarat lahum ila an yatafarraqu. What will people gain from this hadith? What is the benefit of this hadith? The three spiritual needs are given. The first thing that is given the rahmat will come down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wherever hadith Kisa is mentioned, nuzul rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says, وَحَفَّتْ بِهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. And you're not alone in this gathering. If you think this hall is empty over here, no. Haffat bihimul malaika. Malaika have filled up the space over here. Wherever you find the gaps in the hall, in this hall, in the other hall, who's filling the gaps? Malaika are filling the gaps. Haffat bihimul malaika. That means the ihata of malaika over here. And then we say, wastaghfarat lahum ila an yatafarraqu. And every single person who's gathered in this hadith Kisa, where hadith is being recited due to the virtue of Fatima Zahra, they are being, istighfar is being done for them. Istaghfarat lahum ila an yatafarraqu. Their istighfar and maghfirat is done until they disperse and then they go away. 3 spiritual needs. Rahmat of Allah comes down, where hadith Kisa is recited. Malaika are doing the ahata, and number 3, istighfar is done on your behalf. So these are the 3 spiritual benefits that you get out of it. But then it's not the only thing. You also get the physical benefit from being in this gathering. Then Rasulullah said, ثَانِيًا لِحَاجَاتِ الْجَسَدِ. For your physical hajat, he said, وَفِيهِمْ مَهْمُومٌ إِلَّا وَفَرَّجَ اللَّهُ هَمَّا وَلَا مَغْمُومٌ إِلَّا وَكَشَفَ اللَّهُ غَمَّا وَلَا طَالِبُ حَاجَةٍ إِلَّا وَقَضَى اللَّهُ حَاجَةً. The 3 physical benefits that are also attained from it. You have this gham ghussa. You are in pain when you come to the gathering where the zikr of Sayyida is done, where hadith Kisa is recited, your pains go away. You don't remember the reason that Amir al-Mu'mineen would say that after I would come home from all the troubles of the world, the moment I would look in the face of Sayyida, all of my gham will go away. Similarly, when we come to the bargah of Sayyida, we recite this hadith Kisa, the least that we can get out of it is mahmoomun illa wa farrajallahu hamma. If a person is mahmoom, that means the person is facing some sort of calamity, difficulty, there's pareshani, this gham is removed. Wala maghmoomun illa wa kashafallahu ghamma. There's not a person who's mahmoom, who's saddened by something, until he gets up from this mahfil. Their gham is removed. وَلَا طَالِبُ حَاجَةٍ إِلَّا وَقَضَى اللَّهُ حَاجَةً. And there's not an individual who has hajat. And when they come to this gathering, it's the qaza of their hajat is taking place over here. So you understand the favors, the benefits of being in the gathering where the zikr of Fatima Zahra is being done. This is the lady. And I'll conclude. This is the lady whom Rasulullah would see the last when he would exit the city. She was the one Rasulullah would come and see the first when he would enter into the city. This is the love that he has for Abiha. And then I mentioned this as well, that the person for whom the entire universe calls him to be Khatamul Anbiya, Sayyidul Anbiya, the one for whom the entire universe stands up and bows their head when he enters into the bargah of Fatima Zahra, or when Fatima enters into the bargah of Rasulullah, Rasulullah stands up from his place. He stands up and he brings Fatima and sits her down in his place, and he shows the world the importance that you all bow in front of me and I bow in front of Fatima. That's why Imam Hasan Askari ﷺ said, Nahnu hujjatullahi ala al-khalq. We are the proofs of Allah on the makhluk. Fatima Zahra, Jaddatuna hujjatun alayna. Our Jadd, Fatima Zahra, is the hujjat upon us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability and the strength that we are able to establish this bond, this strengthen this connection with Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha on this night. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, due to this strengthening of the connection with her, that we are bestowed with the shafa'at of Fatima Zahra on the day of judgment. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the zuhur of our awaited Imam and make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum ya Nabi Allah, assalamu alaikum ya Habib Allah, assalamu alaikum ya Hafiz Allah, السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. زیارت جناب فاطمہ زہرا سلام اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت رسول اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت نبی اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت حبیب اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت خلیل اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت صفی اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت امین اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت خیر خلق اللہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت افضل انبیاء اللہ ورسلہ وملائکتہ. السلام علیکی یا بنت خیر البریہ. السلام علیکی یا سیدۃ نساء العالمین من الاولین والآخرین. السلام علیکی یا زوجۃ ولی اللہ وخیر الخلق بعد رسول اللہ. السلام علیکی یا ام الحسن والحسین سید شباب اہل الجنہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا الصدیقۃ الشہیدہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا الرضیۃ المرضیہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا الفاضلۃ الزکیہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا الحوراء الانسیہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا التقیۃ النقیہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا المحدثۃ العلیمہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا المظلومۃ المغصوبہ. السلام علیکی ایتھا المضطہدۃ المقہورہ. السلام علیکی یا فاطمہ بنت رسول اللہ ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیکی یا غریب الغرباء. السلام علیکی یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام علیکی یا شمس الشموس وانیس النفوس. ایها المدفون بعرض توصلي ابن موسى رضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علیکم صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام علیکم امام الانس والجان. السلام علیکم شریک القرآن. جل اللہ تعالی فرجك وسهل الله مخرج قدورك وجعلنا من أعوانك والصالح ورحمة الله وبركاته.